Christmas to us, that is primarily when the entire family gets together. Yes, there's gifts, but I think the togetherness and the closeness of your family coming together is really what makes Christmas.
At this time of year, we are all surrounded by the sights, sounds, and symbols of Christmas. For West Texas farmer Tony Multer, the end of cotton harvest has always meant Christmas Day was not far behind.
It's also in conjunction with the completion of your crops and completion of a farming season.
A tug here and a last-minute tighten and tuck there means the wind won't whittle away at Tony's crop. He has leased this land for 3 decades to grow cotton up on the hill and milo out along the highway, leaving nothing standing but brown stalks and something else. A tiny white picket fence.
A lot of people have stopped along the ways, especially when we're harvesting. People will stop, what's going on here? What's the white picket fence? Highway 83, if you look on the map, goes from Brownsville to North Dakota. And people have always stopped and said, I've been by here, I don't know how long. Always wondered, what is the picket fence for?
A single odd enclosure. It's been an object of curiosity around here for more than 100 years. The story goes that at one time when Highway 83 was just a horse path and before this pasture became farmland, it was the old Doc Fowler place. For years, he was the only medical care for miles around.
And as important as Dr. Fowler was, no one can seem to find a photograph of him.
From Paint Rock to Ballinger with his horse he called Old Joe, W. Fowler would ease the suffering and heal the sick at all hours of the day or night.
The horse was his mode of transportation. And more than that, it was more like a friend almost. I heard stories that the doctor would just go, after he was done, somebody's house, he would go to sleep in the buggy, he'd wake up back home. The horse passed away after many years, and Dr. Fowler buried the horse on this farm and set up like a little graveyard for his horse. Ever since Dr. Fowler buried his horse, there's been always a picket fence around it.
So now, every Christmas, like they've done for years, the Multer family gives Old Joe's grave a new coat of white paint. Even though there's no headstone or marker, Abby and Adam look forward to this Christmas tradition that honors a horse that meant so much to so many people for so many years.
One Christmas, we drove by and I said, there's a wreath hanging on the horse grave. So we asked everyone we knew if they hung the wreath on the horse grave, and no one that we are aware of had told us that they had. Around Christmas time, a new one will appear. Someone will come forth and hang that wreath to honor the horse and Dr. Fowler.
The wreath is like a mystery. It's kind of cool to know, like, you know, somebody's really interested in this.
Tony and the kids have given up trying to find out who places a new Christmas wreath every holiday season.
I mean, we never really found out who did put it up there, and I guess someone stopped by and just put it up there, just, I guess, to make it look a little prettier.
Well, no matter if it's below freezing or 80 degrees in December, this roadside grave gets a new coat of paint. The Multers are the latest in a long line of caretakers for the final resting place of Old Joe. Doc Fowler is buried in the cemetery over in Ballinger, but it's always Old Joe that gets a fresh coat of paint and a mysterious new Christmas wreath.
As my kids are getting older, I'm a little more concerned that they won't be available to paint, but I think it'll be very difficult to keep them from coming to paint.
I think we've done this about 12 times.
It's become a tradition for us to keep this grave in repair.
My generation, we don't pay attention to anything history. And like what's cool about it is that like when people do see this freshly painted and the wreath all pretty up on there and stuff, it's just kind of like, there it is. Like that's a really cool thing to know about our town and like our history and stuff like that. I think it's really cool.
It's a time to remember, and a time to remember a very important piece of history of Runnels County.
For 100 years, the folks of Runnels County have honored and protected a tiny white picket fence in the middle of a huge field. And sometime in the last decade or so, in something that's become a tradition itself, a new wreath appears every year, a gesture that's become a symbol of the Christmas season in West Texas.
I think that when people drive by and they see the wreath on the picket fence, it makes them happy and make them feel proud, just happy and ready for the holidays. If one person is touched, then this is all worth it.